Welcome to your quantum journey. We have a truly special guest today, Miss Michelle Ulrich. Michelle is a whole health wellness coach and an energy and sound healing practitioner dedicated to helping others heal from disease, symptoms, and reconnect with their own innate ability to heal. Through her own profound healing journey, she discovered that healing is not only possible, it's our natural state. And now, through her business, Get Well with Michelle, she actually combines holistic wellness coaching with hands on energy healing and sound healing to support her clients on their path to wholeness. Michelle, welcome to Quantum Journey. We are so excited to have you.
See, I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us, Michelle, where did your quantum journey begin?
Okay. Well, I'll go back to around 2019 when I started developing symptoms of an autoimmune condition. I had just stepped off the stage of a national level um, bodybuilding competition. I had been doing competitive bodybuilding for the previous 8 years. And I thought I was in the best shape of my life.
Wow, yeah.
And then I started developing symptoms, uh, quite severe symptoms. And I'd kind of like to share some of those uh, in order for the viewers to be able to see what I was able to heal from
Of
completely.
course. Now, I know because I visited with you earlier that you happen to have a photo of yourself in this prime shape that you were referring to. Do you have that handy that you could
I
show
do.
everyone?
Yes, I absolutely do.
It was amazing. And you did this for quite some time. This was not a one and done kind of a thing, right?
Right, Misty. I competed um, on a national level for 8 years prior, but I had actually been working out for many years prior to actually deciding to do competitive bodybuilding.
Okay.
So, can you see that?
Wow. Yes, I can see that. That's incredible. So I would also think if I looked like that I was in prime physical condition. So what began happening that made you, and you said you were stepping off the stage
Well,
when,
what I meant was a few weeks after
okay,
literally stepping off the stage from doing a national level competition where I actually got a second placement. I had been working towards the goal of getting my professional bodybuilding card, and I was just one placement away from being able to get that professional bodybuilding card and compete professionally. So when I started developing symptoms, obviously it was shocking.
right?
So, so what happened first? Um, I started having itching, like just maddening itch. It started on my scalp, ended up, I broke out in rashes all over my body, my back, my chest, my arms, my legs. My skin turned bright red, started to burn like fire. Um, I noticed that I was having brain fog, excuse me, and and just like chronic fatigue. And I decided that I was going to have to go see a doctor. I actually didn't even have a primary care doctor because I'd never gotten sick. So I went to my OBGYN doctor and I was kind of explaining my symptoms to her. And she referred me to a rheumatologist, um, which was very shocking. I didn't know where she was coming with that. Um, and she drew some lab work and tested me for autoimmune disease, an antibody
Wow.
titer, and it came back positive, a very high positive for lupus.
So how did you handle this news going from not even having a primary care physician to this diagnosis of autoimmune disease? How did you handle that?
Well, I just didn't believe it was possible, honestly. Um, I didn't think there was any way that it could be possible. So I just tried to carry on with my life and keep doing the things I had been doing. But very quickly, I began to develop more and more symptoms. I had over 20, I ended up with over 20 debilitating symptoms, Raynaud's phenomenon. I don't know if the viewers are familiar with
No,
that,
what
but
is
that's where
that?
you can't get blood flow to your fingers in cooler temperatures. Literally anything below 50, my fingers would turn solid white and
Wow.
burn. Right. I When I say I had maddening itch, I mean I had maddening itch that never stopped, that kept me from sleeping. I noticed that I started having difficulty swallowing. I was having shortness of breath. I started losing weight very quickly. Um, just a variety of very seriously alarming symptoms. And so I went to the rheumatologist and had an exam done. Um, More lab work was drawn to try to kind of determine what type of lupus or connective tissue disease that I might have, as to determine what the best way to treat it was. I was referred to a dermatologist who did a biopsy on a huge rash that was on my back. Um, I also started developing hair loss. I mean, just bloating, abdominal bloating, diarrhea. I mean, my body was falling apart.
Now, is there
Uh,
anyone in your family that has had any type of an autoimmune diagnosis, or was this kind of out of left field for you?
well, my mother and her mother before that, actually, they both died of a rare blood cancer, myelofibrosis. It's where the bone marrow becomes fibrosed and the
Okay.
body can no longer produce red blood cells, which that's going to become significant as this conversation goes on when I discuss what I found out the true causes of symptoms and conditions are. Because my mother, uh, she was a young child in Germany during World War II,
Wow.
uh, when all the bombing was going on, and the DDT, the insecticide. I don't know
Mhm.
if you're
Yes.
familiar with it.
Yes.
Uh, and So she was exposed to that, and that's going to be relevant as we progress in the interview. So, of course, the doctor told me that there was no known cause uh, for the disease, that it was an inflammatory disease. Um, there was no known cure. Uh, the treatment would be pharmaceutical drugs, like autoimmune suppressant therapy, um, and steroid treatment. And depending on how badly the disease progressed, I might have to have physical therapy. A lot of people with dermatomyositis, because it's characterized by muscle weakness or muscle loss, end up in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Uh, a lot of people end up having to have surgery because it also affects the skin and the connective tissues. And many people get calcium deposits and infections in their skin and have to have multiple surgeries for these procedures.
Now
So
I know that what let me I'm gonna you touched on something and I want to go back and draw a little attention to it because as you say, this conversation is going to continue to kind of blossom into the discussion of energy and how energy moves through the body and how energy can get stuck in the body. So, in the introduction that you kind of co-created with me, you mentioned disease, but it's the hyphen in between the DIS and the EASE. It's the dis-ease of the energy in the body, and a lot of people don't know about that. So, I want to ask, at the time when these things started to happen and this started to unravel in your life, were you aware of how energy moved in the body at that time? Or was this truly the journey of you learning about the illness and then also learning about how energy moves in the body? Did it all happen kind of at the same time?
Exactly, Misty. I had no idea that the way that energy moved in the body could affect us in a way that would cause symptoms and dis-ease. So I'm answering your question by sharing my story of what led to my quantum journey.
Yes.
And there are many layers to what I found out were the true causes of symptoms and conditions. There's many layers, and what I need to say is that I refused to believe that I could not heal, and I refused to take the prescription drugs that were offered to me. Um, Primary medicine, primary people tend to believe that primary medicine is pills and surgery. And actually, that's secondary. Primary medicine is what I refer to as I call it the four prolific pillars: restorative foods, mindfulness, movement, and balance. And I used those four pillars to heal myself. But first, I realized I had to set out on a journey to find the true causes of symptoms and conditions.
Do you find, Michelle, that a lot of what you began researching is really tied to Eastern culture? Because as you mentioned, those four pillars, those are widely practiced in Eastern medicine. In fact, they have wellness plans where you just pay to stay healthy, right? You don't pay when you get sick. You're paying to stay healthy. Their job is to keep you healthy, right? Not to only see you when you're sick. So is that kind of the path that you took, really more of an Eastern approach?
That's exactly the path that I took.
Okay.
But there's some more to this. I would like to tell you how I was able to go in depth. The information I'm going to share with you uh, may be shocking to you and may be shocking to the viewers, but um, I found a book series um, on my journey of trying to discover how I actually got sick, what the true causes of symptoms and conditions were. I First, of course, I found uh, different teachers like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden,
Yes.
and they teach about epigenetics, the
Yes.
science of spirituality and consciousness. And eventually, I was led to the a series of books. This one was the first one. I don't know, you can see it. Cleanse
Oh,
to Heal.
cleanse to heal. Yes.
The information in this book, and actually the entire series of 8 books, is information that comes from above. And what I mean by that, it comes from spirit. There is actually a man by the name of Anthony William that receives messages in his right ear from a voice, uh, from a being called Spirit, the spirit of compassion. And so when you ask me what led to my quantum journey, I think we're getting deeper and deeper into how I land where I'm at.
So this is, I'm assuming, a channeled book, which for our viewers that aren't familiar with channeled work, I tend to believe that anytime you are just flowing information through you, or a talent or a skill or a passion or a joy, whether you're an artist or you're a singer or you're a writer or you're a scientist or you're whatever that is, you're flowing information through. I think the term channeled sometimes makes people associate it with something that's woo woo, but we all channel information. We all channel information. So I think it's fascinating that there is a 8 book series, did you say? And I'm guessing they're on different topics of the whole health and wellness journey.
They are, Misty.
Okay.
The basis for the books, for the most part, goes into um, cleansing, cleansing the body. Okay. So I know in the spiritual community, we're hearing a lot these days about cleansing and cleansing parasites and cleansing the body. But the information that comes from spirit that is in these books is much more detailed. And when you get to the point where you're experiencing, especially an autoimmune disease, and your body's falling apart and you're not functioning, um, the details of these cleanses and the true causes of symptoms and conditions uh, are essential in order to be able to heal. Um, I've been completely symptom free for about 3 years now.
Wow,
And
that's incredible.
yeah, I went from an autoimmune label. Also, I didn't mention this, but 40 to 60% of the people that have dermatomyositis also have cancer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I mean, I can go more into that. I'm not sure how much you want me to go into the true causes of symptoms and conditions and how to heal, or exactly where you want to go with this.
Well, I'm curious as you began, because I remember my own journey and it was a little overwhelming to be completely transparent with you. There was so much information kind of coming in at one time. It was almost like the minute I shifted my perspective and said, what else is possible? God, show me what else is possible. It was almost like opening Pandora's box and it began coming in so fast. I probably lived in a rabbit hole the last 6 years of my life, just trying to open my mind to all these different possibilities, potentials, ancient texts, different types of religious perspectives, knowledge like what you just shared, wholeness in my health and the way mind, body, spirit healing. So as you're kind of going from that place that you were and you've started this journey and you're picking up the books, do you immediately go into the regiment? Are you kind of saying, okay, this book says to do this? You had maybe an instinct that this was the right thing for you. You intuited it. Do you want to go into how you knew this was the right book? Because there's millions of them, right?
I instinctively knew. I had an inner knowing that the information in this book was truth. Okay. Of course, there is an element of it that I am an RN. I don't think we mentioned that. So I have like 30 years in the medical background.
Wow.
So, I realize that, we don't see people healing. We see people's symptoms, hopefully maybe being alleviated, but we don't really see people healing. And the information in the books, they're like medical textbooks. And the man, Anthony William, that receives the messages, he has uh, no college degree. He has no college. It was obvious that the information came from above. And intuitively, I knew the information was true. And I knew if I could grasp the information and begin to put the protocols in place, that I would heal.
You
And
know
I
what I find
absolutely did that.
what I find interesting is that you said that you knew intuitively that this was truth for you. And I think sometimes because I really want to get into, this discussion because I find it so powerful that many people feel completely comfortable to go sit in a pew in a church on Sunday and they fully believe that the pastor or associate pastor or whoever's in the church is divinely led through messages that they deliver each Sunday. But for some reason, we have a little bit of a block in understanding that other people in all different facets of society are given the same gift of spirit. And so I love that you allowed your intuition to lead you and you didn't try to get into a guessing game in your head of trying to discern whether or not it was truth. You allowed your God-given intuition to lead you. And so you began reading, you felt that this was the right thing, and you started the protocol. How hard was that? I can only imagine that you were fairly accustomed to regimented eating practices, disciplined workout regimen. So how was this for you to begin?
Exactly, Misty. That I think that made it less difficult for me than it would somebody that wasn't as regimented. I just had to turn my regimen from what it was to a completely different regimen than what
Yeah.
I had been doing. And it was also difficult because I was also suffering from symptoms and conditions terribly. So I was putting these protocols for healing in place, and I set out and I was determined that I would follow the plan until I was healed, and that's what I did.
I know that we're not giving medical advice. Everybody should consult with their own physician if they're going through these things. Certainly choose the path that's right for them. But can you share just a couple of things that you felt like made this really jumpstart your healing process? Are there certain things that are maybe a little different in this cleansing protocol or in this particular series of books? What was different about this particular journey for you?
Well, what I think, to answer your question of what's different about this protocol, is that in order to heal, we have to know what the true causes are. And uh, science and research and the medical community, Western medicine, modern medicine, does not yet know the true causes of symptoms and conditions. So, how can you do an effective cleanse in order to heal if you don't even know what the true causes are?
Otherwise, you're just covering up the symptoms, right? Mhm.
Right. You're practicing. You're what makes the true cleanse different from other cleanses is honestly decades of people that have healed from doing the cleanses and doing the protocols and incorporating the restorative foods and eliminating the toxins from the body, and countless thousands of testimonies now from people that have healed using these protocols. And a lot of these testimonies have actually come out uh, since 2020, since my diagnosis. Um, so, yeah, that's definitely a significant difference in some of the other cleanses that are out there that people are doing.
Does it focus on maybe implementing live foods? Is that a component of it? I know there's a lot of discussion about eliminating processed foods and really moving to filling your body with things that have an energy signature of their own, something that was grown with sunlight and in soil. Is that a component of this process?
Uh, that is a component. Um, when you cleanse the body, you have to, in order to cleanse from the toxins and the pathogens, you have to eliminate the toxins that are causing the symptoms. And some of the toxins are actually in the foods that we eat. Um, so, yes, to answer your question, we have to consume what we call what is called restorative foods, the holy four: fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, wild foods. And yes, those foods do contain light. They are grown in the sun, they absorb the sunlight. And when we ingest those foods, we also receive that light into our cells. These foods, the holy four: fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, wild foods, they also have living water inside of them that help to restore the body. So I
So
think that
literally, we are what we eat.
we are what we eat.
Yeah.
We receive the energy from the foods that we are eating inside of our body. Yes, Misty.
So, what was phase two for you? You started this protocol, you managed to kind of steer the ship in a different direction. What was phase two looking like for you? Did you start to see your symptoms subside? What was your marker that you knew you were on the right path?
Well, for me, uh, it, I thought I was about a year into it when I thought I was beginning to notice some decrease in some of the symptoms. The rashes were decreasing, the abdominal bloating was getting better, I was more able to focus. But about a year into it, um, as what I realize now was part of the detoxing, I began to detox some of the pathogens in the form of viruses out of my body. And I started to develop, I got a really bad shingles breakout. And when I say really bad, that doesn't, it doesn't really
Doesn't
do it
cover it.
justice. No, the dermatologists, they didn't, they weren't for sure what it was. That's how bad it was. Great big
Wow.
whelps. It took me a year to recover from it, but I realized that a lot of it was I went full force with the detox. I went full force with the cleansing protocols. I didn't back off. I was determined. I wanted to heal as quickly as I could, and as long as I could keep going, I stuck with it. But about it was almost 2.5 years in.
Wow.
I still remember the morning I woke up. When I say I had maddening itch, I mean my itch never went away, never. Um, all through the night, uh, my body was itching, my face, my scalp, the skin, the burning skin was painful, like I was on fire. Um, I can remember the first morning that I woke up and I wasn't itching. Uh, I don't know if I, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Well,
that was
yeah.
my experience.
I mean, that must have taken a whole lot of fortitude to stay with it, stay committed. I can only imagine the level of belief that you had to have had. We haven't even addressed that yet, how thoughts and beliefs matter so much in our recovery or our desire to achieve something, accomplish something. In this case, it had to be that your belief was so strong that it was unwavering.
It was that, and it was also that I surrendered to the disease. I didn't stop working to heal, but I surrendered to it and I accepted it. And I knew that somehow, you know, that when I overcame it, and I knew that I would. I knew that when I overcame it, that I would be the growth and the expansion from having just gone through that obstacle was going to change me forever. But I really feel like a big part of it was surrendering to it, accepting it,
Not fighting it.
and not
Yeah,
fighting it,
yeah.
and being and staying in gratitude for focusing more on the gratitude of all the things I had to be grateful for in my life.
Can we
And
talk about that for a moment? Can we talk about energetically the principles of fighting against something? And I know that you're a student of energy because I've had the pleasure of taking some classes with you. Being a student of energy and knowing what you know now, how do you feel about fights against this illness and that illness? What's your take on that?
well, I feel like it's a lower frequency that's lowering your energy vibration. And as we know, the famous physicist Albert Einstein said, everything is energy. So gratitude is like the highest frequency. And when you're in that oh, fight, fear, victimhood consciousness, it lowers your energy, which causes, disease, imbalance
Yes.
in the body. So if you can surrender and accept and just go with the flow of knowing that the universe is always conspiring for your greater good, I think it's very beneficial in the healing process.
I do too. I like
Um,
to say, what is this trying to show me?
right.
When things come to me and I maybe would have previously labeled it as negative or or unwanted, I'll now say, okay, what is this showing me? And this is happening for me, not to me. I try to have that different perspective. It sounds like that's a lot of what you were doing as well. Did you find that reading? I know that Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, those mentors were so instrumental to me whenever I was first starting to understand how things really worked, how energy makes the world go around, and how we can tap into these energetic principles and reprogram our brains, reprogram our thinking, reprogram our life, change our manifestation abilities. Do you find that those teachers help to get you to a place where you could shift your perspective?
Oh, absolutely. I found them first, and I bought some of the book, and I watched the podcast, and they too they gave me hope, and they kind of turned my way of thinking around so far as realizing that I needed to be very mindful of what I was thinking. And looking back, I would imagine that as a competitive bodybuilder, I probably was not speaking to myself very nice, even though I didn't
Right.
realize it. Looking in
Mhm.
in the mirror and looking for all the flaws and places that I need to try to make look better, and comparing myself to the other competitors to see you know where I thought I needed to make improvements, and those kinds of things like that I did not realize at the time. But I think you know that was lowering my energy and causing distortions and imbalances in my energy body, which definitely, I'm sure, led to the disease.
And as you continued on, what then led you to not only be a student of it, but to seek to become a teacher?
Oh, wow. I think I was motivated by my own healing story and what I had learned about true causes of symptoms and conditions. And I wanted to be able to help people to heal like I did. I mean, having gone through everything that I've gone through, I completely believe, like so many of us, we go through these obstacles for a reason. We end up, you know, serving in the capacity that led, that was led by whatever the obstacles were that we had to overcome. And I kind of believe that's how it works.
Totally agree with you. And you have ventured out into energy healing, I think sound therapy. So tell us a little bit about what you've discovered in that journey into learning those modalities.
Well, shortly after I healed from my autoimmune disease, I was motivated to take a Reiki class. And I think I'm actually a Reiki master. I went all the way up to level 3. And I think that most people know about Reiki, which basically what it is. Reiki is it's a Japanese word, but it's actually generic for energy healing or other spiritual healing modalities. Um, Rei means universal, and Ki or Chi or Prana is life force energy. So we're all surrounded by life force energy. Every living thing is surrounded by life force energy. So when we have imbalances or distortions in our energy field, that's, as we were saying, that can lead to disease symptoms. So I, that's a question you asked me. I forgot exactly what
Well,
you
we were
asked
just
me.
talking about how you went from student to wanting to be the teacher, you know.
Right. Um, I I found that I had the ability to sense energies, which many people do. And I like the idea of connecting to um, life force or source higher energy in order to be a bridge or a conduit for healing to for others. And that's kind of what led me to the energy healing.
And so
And
I know you went into Reiki
I went into
and
Reiki, yeah,
mhm,
which and I also went into IET,
mhm,
integrated energy therapy, which the difference, they're both energy healing modalities, but the difference is the attunement. The Reiki energy attunement is different than the attunement with the integrated energy therapy. So, and I realized too that some people are actually born with these attunements is
yes.
is what I've come to learn, that
Mhm.
you don't necessarily even have to have these attunements to be able to channel the energy, meaning be the bridge or the conduit to give
Absolutely.
the energy. Yeah.
And you and I shared a classroom recently and learned the integrated energy technique. And I think for our viewers, it might be interesting just to give them a little visual. You know, you have a client that's usually lying down on, like a massage table or something similar. And as you begin to kind of move from head to foot, you're looking at where they're holding energy in this cellular structure in their body. A lot of people don't realize that you hold these different emotions in the cellular structure of your body. So
Right.
what part of that have you found to be most interesting? And in working with clients, can you share in a very generic way some things that you've maybe helped people to release because that energy gets stuck, guilt, maybe in the top portion of the head or anger in the side, those kinds of things.
Well, I find it interesting that, you know, not only is that energy like in the cellular body, but also in the aura or the biofield that's actually around the body, 4 to 6 foot feet around the body.
Right.
That's fascinating to me. But what I've been able to help people with is a lot of times um, anxiety, depression, uh, things like that, even pain in the body. A lot of times, pain in the body is related to an imbalance in the energy. Many times, people don't understand that.
The warning sign.
Right,
It's your
right,
body giving you one of those little lights that we all love to see on the dashboard of our car. It's like, hey, you need to service this.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Indicator light.
Yeah, but
I Go ahead.
Great. No, I was going to say a lot of times um, people, what was that? Where was I going to go with
We were
this?
just talking about when you're physically working with a client, and I was asking, what are the observations that you've had? Because I think the first time you really start learning how energy moves through the body, it's almost like a fascination. It's like this is amazing to watch. It's almost a healing right in front of your eyes.
Yes, I've had people say to me, I don't know what you're doing, but I feel better. I've had people say to me, I've never met anybody like you. I feel better just being around you. And I believe it is a frequency, an energy frequency, because I the science around the energy therapy is not that easy to explain, but I know that it is scientific, and the principle of uh, energetic uh, resonance is how it works. And basically, what it is that when you set your intention to connect with the universal life force energy, then you can channel that energy into like a lower frequency. Somebody that's in pain, or somebody that's, you know, been under stress, they've experienced a trauma in their life. And it can be a trauma that actually was something from the past that they've shoved down.
Right.
And I think it's amazing how you can kind of clear that out in the biofield. And
Absolutely.
and I've had some people share with me that they felt like, I did clear those past traumas.
And people don't even realize I call it a dirty coat. People don't even realize that they're walking around with this dirty coat, not only energy from people that they've come in contact with. I have a hairdresser that I love dearly, and I told her, I said, you probably more than anybody need to clean your energy every day, because people come in and they sit in a chair, and what do they want to do? They want to tell you all their problems. They want to tell you all the gossip. It's all this stuff, and you feel like you need to take a bath energetically. And so when I'm working with clients, sometimes I'll see that they're carrying these things. Actually had an interview with a beautiful soul yesterday, and she was saying that in the trauma work that she did with all these soldiers that had come back from war, she felt like she was carrying around 1,000 traumatic stories in her body. And I think that's just a really good example of how we can carry these things in our cellular memory. And of course, I do past life regression. And I find that a lot of the trauma that I'm clearing in my clients is from past lives. So whether or not our viewers believe in that is really not for me to debate, but I can tell you that those are things that I found with my clients as well.
That's fascinating. I tell you, that makes me think of something that I would love to share with the viewers
Sure.
about how we store energetic toxins in our body.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so basically, and I've got some notes here that I'm going to refer to. I wasn't exactly sure what questions you were going to ask me, and I've got so much information that I thought I need to make some notes. But so, what the health world doesn't realize, what they haven't discovered, is that our cells, the cells in our body, they contain emotional and memory toxins. Okay. And how these toxins are stored in the body, they're stored in the cells, the tissues, even the bones and the organs, is through adrenaline. When, um, because these toxins are in the adrenaline that are in the cells and all these tissues of the body. And when we're in fight or flight mode, um, from a traumatic experience, any kind of trauma or any kind of a bad experience that we have, and we go into fight or flight, our body naturally excretes adrenaline, and it stays stored in the cells. And if we don't cleanse the body, and this is like on the physical level, if we don't cleanse the body, those memories are stored in the cells in the adrenaline. And I had never heard that anywhere until I discovered the medical medium books, which is fascinating and is another reason to cleanse the body on a physical level as well.
Absolutely. It reminds me of one of the client sessions that I had where they immediately, as you drop somebody down into this relaxed state and these issues come forward that need to be healed, this particular individual went straight to a trauma that they had pushed so far down. They thought they had hidden it so well inside of their body that it would never resurface again. They've never told anyone about it. And those things will come up eventually. And they'll come up subtly, and you'll get the indicator light, and then you push it back down. And then you continue to do that, and your story happens, and suddenly you've got some type of an illness that's either manifests with mild symptoms, or it's full blown stage 4 cancer. um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I love that you're talking about things that, not everybody's talking about. And again, I'm not a medical practitioner, but there's so many people that are finding these things through their practices. And I can tell you what I've seen. I can tell you what I've witnessed. I know what you're telling our viewers is absolutely the truth, that you've experienced the healing that you have seen for yourself firsthand. And I think there's so many new possibilities coming forward now. Do you just feel like the gates are opening up?
Absolutely. The gates are opening up with, new information and new understanding, about, we're always healing, even if we have an autoimmune disease or not, we're always healing either physically. Well, most of us on the planet right now have some sort of physical symptom and condition, but we're always healing on a physical and emotional, mind body level. And it is fascinating. It's wonderful times because a lot of the information that's been suppressed is coming forward, and it's fascinating. I'm really excited for the restructuring of so many of our systems as we've known it.
Me too.
And
Do you
it's
feel like people are, there's a lot of fear about all of the systems that are falling apart. And I'm over here. I feel like I need a cheerleading costume. I've got my pom poms. I'm just so excited because with the falling away means that we get to bring forward the new. We get to rebuild
right.
in a way that benefits humanity, and that gets me so excited.
It gets me very, 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 very excited. It's exciting times on planet Earth right
Yes.
now. And it's like you said, all the chaos, it has to come up to the surface. All the truth has to be revealed in order for us to uh, to
Acknowledge it.
come into
Yeah.
the, yeah,
Yeah.
acknowledge it and
Yeah.
create the new heaven on earth.
Yeah. You have to see what's been done and acknowledge it. And with gratitude, say, we created it and it's not working for us anymore. And now this is what we choose to create, going forward. We are all powerful creators. We're just now really tapping into just the tip of the iceberg, learning how powerfully we create, which is why there's such a battle for our thoughts and our attention, is
Right.
because there are powers that be that know how powerful we are. We actually create the things that we fear because that's how powerful we are.
Right.
And so, as we talk about creating the new and helping people to learn all about these things that we're talking about today, Michelle, I know that you have a website. I would love for you to tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you. Maybe just touch again on the services that you offer. So, if they're experiencing similar things and want to reach out to you, how might they do that?
Okay. Well, my website it's easy, getwellwithmichelle.org, and Michelle is two L's and an E. what I offer is um, I offer coaching on healing. Um, I coach people with the information that I learned that is true about the true causes of symptoms and conditions and how to heal. Um, Evidence is the loudest voice, and I've healed completely. I actually, and not that I'm encouraging people or recommending that people don't go to see Western medicine doctors, but I have not seen a doctor since 2022 because of why would I? Now that I know the true causes of symptoms and conditions and how to heal, I don't feel like I have any need. So I'm just
That
going to
is incredible.
put that out there. And again, I'm not telling anybody not to go to the doctor, but
Right.
I think I just like to uh, point that out. Um, you know, and also I do energy healing. I do group sessions. I actually participated in a mentorship program, and I'm still continuing after that program to do energetic healing with a group of people where we get together in groups over Zoom and do energetic healings for people. And it tends to, when there's multiple people that are doing the healing at one time, it tends to speed up the healing process. And that's been very fascinating. So if you go on my website, you can schedule healing, energy healing, which of course I don't do the healing. I just facilitate and hold space for you to
Mhm.
heal yourself. We all heal
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
Um, and and I offer in person hands-on healing as well. And all the information is in my website, getwellwithmichelle.org.
That is so exciting. I so appreciate you being willing to share your journey with us today, Michelle. Just impressive to look back and see all of the discipline that you put into, pursuing the path of being a bodybuilder and all your accomplishments, and then to be able to pivot and not to get hung up in what was. A lot of people would have really gotten stuck there for some time and said, but no, this is what I'm meant to do. It's what I want to do. But you said, okay, God, show me something different and what else is possible. And you really went with the flow of what life was showing you. And now, not only have you made it through, now you can help others to find the healing that they're seeking, which is such a beautiful purpose for your life and service to others. So, thank you so much. I give you such gratitude for being with us today. And I look forward to being able to catch up with you again. I know you're going to continue to do amazing things in the community. By the way, you're located right here in Paducah. So, one of the goals of Quantum Journey is to really help people to reach out to people right here in our community. It's sometimes when you're watching things on YouTube, you find people that are in another state. We don't have holistic healing centers on every corner like some of the bigger metro cities do. So I think it's important to know that you're right here in our community. Also, reach a virtual audience if needed, but I appreciate you offering this service right here at home.
Thank you so much, Misty. Thank you for
Thanks, Michelle.
allowing me to share my story.
Absolutely. All right.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye, guys.